Some stories are so packed with action and just sheer unbelievable survival that you'd swear they were made up for a movie. Well, today we're diving into the very real, very incredible life of a man who makes most action heroes look, well, pretty tame. Let's get into the story of Sir Adrian Carton de Wiart. Okay, to even begin to wrap your head around this guy, you just have to look at the list of what he went through. Listen to this. Shot in the face, head, stomach, ankle, leg, hip, and ear. Blinded in one eye. He survived not one, but 2 plane crashes. And that's not even the craziest part. We're talking about a man who cut off his own fingers and tunneled out of a prisoner of war camp. No, this was not a character in a book. This was his actual life. But what makes his story truly astounding is his own perspective on it. After enduring all of that in World War I, injuries that would have ended most people's lives, let's be honest, he summed up the whole thing with one astonishing sentence. Frankly, I had enjoyed the war. Just wow. So this just begs the question, right? How on earth does one person survive all this? And maybe more importantly, seem to thrive on it? Who was the real man behind that eye patch, the empty sleeve, and this almost mythical reputation? To find out, we have to go right back to the beginning of his absolutely extraordinary career. So his story starts not with, quiet privilege, but with this burning desire for action. He was born into nobility, but he found university life at Oxford way too dull. So what'd he do? He dropped out, lied about being 25 when he was barely 20, and enlisted under a false name just to get into the Boer War. And that's where he got his first war wounds, shot in the stomach and groin. But as intense as that was, it was really just a warm-up. It was in the furnace of the First World War that the legend of the unkillable soldier was truly forged. Before he even set foot in France, he was fighting in British Somaliland. During an attack on an enemy fort, he was shot in the face, losing his left eye and a piece of his ear. And this is the origin story of his iconic eye patch, a look that would define him for the rest of his life. This next bit perfectly captures his character. After his hand was mangled by gunfire on the Western Front, a doctor refused to amputate the damaged fingers. Annoyed by the delay, Carton de Wiart just tore them off himself. This shows you more than just bravery. It shows an almost superhuman tolerance for pain and a completely unstoppable will. This timeline, it reads like a greatest hits of World War I's bloodiest battles. But for him, it was a personal injury report. At the Somme, he was shot through the back of the head, Passchendaele, through the hip, Cambrai, the leg, Arras, the ear. He didn't just fight in these battles. He literally left a piece of himself at each one. The total toll is just staggering. By the end of his service, he'd been wounded so many times he was entitled to wear 11 wound stripes. One of his contemporaries described him showing up with his cap tilted at a rakish angle, one eye, 2 missing limbs, and this incredible record of injuries. And he wasn't just surviving, he was leading from the absolute front. During the Battle of the Somme, after 3 other commanding officers were killed, he just took charge, rallied the men, and held the line. For that, he was awarded the Victoria Cross, Britain's highest honor for valor. The citation praised his dauntless courage and inspiring example. And with the end of the Great War, you think that would be enough adventure for a lifetime, but for him, that was just the first act. His incredible story was really only just getting started. So in the 1920s, he finds himself in Poland on a British military mission. While he's on an observation train, his group gets attacked by Soviet cavalry. Carton de Wiart calmly stands on the footplate of the train, just firing his revolver to fight them off. He even fell off the moving train at one point, only to climb right back on and keep fighting. When World War II kicks off, he's immediately called back into service. Now at age 61, he's sent on a mission to Yugoslavia. His bomber has engine failure and crash lands in the Mediterranean. He gets knocked out, but the cold water wakes him up and he swims a mile to shore, only to be immediately captured by the Italians. Now, as a high-profile prisoner of war, you might think a 62-year-old man with one eye and one hand would, take it easy. But that would mean you weren't thinking of Carton de Wiart. He immediately dedicated himself to one thing, escaping. He made 5 attempts in total. His relentless spirit is on full display right here. He and other senior officers spent 7 months digging a tunnel. He actually got out, and for 8 days he was on the run, disguised as an Italian peasant. Which is pretty funny to imagine, right? A 62-year-old aristocrat with an eye patch an empty sleeve, who doesn't speak a word of Italian. He wasn't exactly blending in. So yeah, he was inevitably recaptured. So the final act of his career starts after he's released from that POW camp. It was actually part of Italy's secret negotiations to surrender, and his life was about to take yet another totally improbable turn. This comparison is just incredible to me. On one side, you have this young officer at the very beginning of his career. On the other, decades later, there he is, standing right behind Churchill, Roosevelt, and Chiang Kai-shek at the Cairo conference. His journey took him from the mud of the battlefield straight to the highest tables of global power. The second he got back to England, Winston Churchill gives him a new job: to be his personal representative in China for the rest of the war. So for 3 years, he's navigating the super complex world of wartime diplomacy, and he earned the respect of both American and Chinese leaders. Even as a diplomat, he never lost that famous bluntness. During a dinner with Mao Zedong, he got tired of listening to Mao's political rhetoric and just straight up interrupted him, accusing him of not doing enough to fight the Japanese. The story goes that Mao was completely stunned into silence, and then he just laughed. There's a deep irony in his final accident. After a lifetime of surviving plane crashes and gunshots and daring escapes, he slipped on a coconut mat in a hallway and broke his back. He survived that too, of course, and ultimately died peacefully in Ireland at the ripe old age of 83. In the end, this description really says it all. He was a complete paradox, an aristocrat who sought out the roughest places in the world, a man who endured unimaginable violence, yet said he enjoyed the war. He was, in every single sense of the word, a figure of legend. And that leaves us with this one final thought. The story of Sir Adrian Carton de Wiart isn't just about survival. It's about a mindset that actively sought out and embraced challenge and danger. It forces us to ask, what is the line between courage, duty, and just an insatiable love of the fight itself?